Hello, this is Brian Baker doing the final analysis on my country of choice, which is Thailand. Thailand's always been an interesting country for me. They've got a lot of economic activity going on in the state and the country. They have a lot of factories. They're big agriculture. They're pretty much a worldwide player. If you go grab a product in your house, there's a good high chance that it probably came from Thailand. But Thailand is not without problems. Currently, the real GDP in Thailand is 3.9%. Pretty good percent. For such a small country, they have a GDP of 1.2 trillion. They're very low unemployment at 0.7%. Which I believe is mainly contributed to agriculture. They don't have a whole lot of machines working in the field. A lot of it's worked by hand, which requires a lot of employment. Their industrial product growth is 1.6%. And then at the bottom you see inflation at 0.7%, which is a little bit below the target of the government central bank. Their goal is 1 to 4%. But Thailand is one of the largest economies in Southwest Asia. Their main imports are machinery and parts, iron and steel, chemicals, crude oil, and miscellaneous other products used to produce exports. Most of their imports go towards making their exports. Their exports, they have a big agriculture export, and then a lot of services and products like automobiles, computers. They refine the oil to make fuels, and quite a few more. Their GDP dependent on trade is 123%. Just means that they have more exports than they do imports. They focus on their exports. They don't worry about making every product. They import what they need and focus on complete products on their exports. The breakdown of employment, the service industry makes up 51.5%, and the percentage of GDP is 55%, so it's pretty close there. Industry, which is making your products and stuff, is 16.7% employment versus 36%. Pretty good gap there. But the biggest gap is in agriculture. 31%, almost 32% of the employed people in Thailand are in agriculture, but it only accounts for 8.2% of the GDP. Takes a lot of their workers for a small amount of their exports. Monetary policy is from the central bank, very similar to the United States, except they meet every 6 weeks, no matter what. And their goal is between 1 and 4%, where the United States is right around 2%. Our physical policy is where it gets really wonky-jawed, is what I call it. They got elected House, appointed Senate, and the King has the final approval on everything. In 2014, they had a military coup, which threw everything out, pretty much. And in 2017, they passed a new constitution, and in May 2019, they had new elections. The results of those are still unknown. The problems, like I was talking about with the military taking over in 2014, they have no stable elected government at all right now. And, they had before the military took over, they had a 7% growth. Well, that's back down quite a bit. It has to do with stability. Like I said, they had new elections in May 2019. and they're at a 20-year low in foreign investment in the country. And they also have a very large income inequality. But once they do it, they have the appetite in the country to bring that gap closer. And they've worked on a few policies, but with the military running it, it's not going to be very effective. Causes of poverty. During all this downturn, their economy slowed down. They have a big difference between rural and urban environments. Your rural is more your agriculture, more low paid. And their education system. The military changed it back to the old system that basically ensures they stay in power and only the elite are allowed to do the education. Some of the economic policies that I would implement would be open, complete, fair elections. No appointments. I don't have a problem with the king having final say. He's pretty much stayed out of everything. But they have a very diverse population, and I think they need free elections. I would change the agriculture reliance on the workforce. I'd bring in more machinery. And by doing that, I'd also bring some factories and industries to the more rural areas that would employ these previous agriculture workforce. Thailand has a very good system, and the coup was not involved. Investing in Thailand, I would never invest in them until you see some stability. That may or may not ever happen. Just never know. Post-stability, if we could ever get them stable again where they're running under free elections, the potential for investment is endless. They have a great work ethic in the country. They can make products. They're like a small China. They can make product very quickly, and so if you invested in a factory in a rural part of the country, you could have limitless employees that could do just about anything. How would I help the least advantaged? Having grown up in rural America myself, I would advocate for the rural Thailand. These communities have strong work ethics. They know how to get up in the morning, work all day. So if you put these same people in a factory, the possibilities are endless. Conclusion, I think once Thailand gets over their political problems, I think they'll go back to the growth and the path that they were pre-2014. They had 7% growth. They were just expanding. Incomes were rising. Poverty was falling. You just got to get their political problems under control. But on the flip side of that, they have a high potential to fall back under the same problems because the last election, there was no clear-cut winner. And when there was no clear winner in the elections, you're going to have problems since it's not completely fair elections, and half the physical policy is appointed by the military, so they're going to retain control. Got a whole bunch of references here. This is Brian Baker. Appreciate your time.